Hi there, my name is Caitlin, and the case study that we have selected was the Nike Sports Park in Japan. And we're going to start off with Nike's background, and that actually spans all the way back to 1993 when the founder Philip Knight visited the Onitsuka, which is now the Asics factory in Japan, and made a deal to distribute their shoes in the US. Later in 1971, Knight partnered with his University of Oregon track coach to create Nike, which the name was inspired by the Greek goddess of victory. The company gained popularity after making a deal with famous basketball player Michael Jordan to promote the Air Jordan shoes. Air Jordan shoes actually garnered over $70 million in sales only 2 months after its initial release. Later in 2003, Nike expanded by acquiring Converse, known for their casual and street style sneakers. And a very fun fact about Nike's history is that the iconic Nike swoosh was originally bought from a University of Oregon design student for only $35. Obviously, later on, Philip and Bill, the original founders, gave the design student shares in the company, but I find that super interesting that the swoosh was only bought for $35. And when it comes to Nike's mission, it is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Their vision is to do everything possible to expand human potential, and Nike's company values are community, stability, diversity, and social responsibility. When it comes to their company culture, Nike aims to foster a global culture of achieving greatness, particularly in the athletic realm. Nike's company structure is divided into four regions: North America, Greater China, EMEA, and APLA. The EMEA covers Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, and the APLA covers the Asia Pacific, Latin, and America. So, when it comes to the SWOT analysis, Nike does have an immense amount of strengths, starting with their global brand recognition. All around the world, you see the Nike swoosh and you do know what company it is right off the bat. And they do have a lot of high profile sponsorships and endorsements. You see that with the Olympics, you see that with major athletes in a variety of sports. And Nike does have very innovative and effective marketing campaigns. When it comes to the opportunities that the company has to expand upon, in our modern day society, more and more consumers are looking for eco-friendly products, and sustainable products are starting to become more of a priority when it comes to what consumers want to buy. So, increasing sustainable products to appeal to a larger consumer base could be an opportunity for Nike to grow as a company, and offering more limited time drops alongside their campaigns to capitalize on attention. For example, there's many campaigns that Nike runs around the time of the Olympics, and it would be a really great opportunity for Nike to drop Olympic inspired apparel for the everyday consumer rather than just offered for the athletes. When it comes to their weaknesses, they do have a manufacturing controversy. Basically, a decent amount of consumers are concerned with the high markup for the products, even though the manufacturing uses cheap overseas labor. And they do face athletic apparel competition. In 2024, you see other brands specifically catered towards a female audience like Lululemon and Alo, and they are starting to compete when it comes to athletic apparel. And Nike's main focus is on footwear, and that focus tends to kind of undermine the company's potential to use their brand power for athletic wear. Nike, like many other corporations, must stay ahead of the curve, anticipating consumer trends and being able to adapt. And consumer trends right now, you can see that athleisure is becoming a bigger thing, and kind of only focusing on footwear could be a weakness because the trend is athleisure and Nike could expand into that. When it comes to threats, there are two main ones, and one of them is shifts in changing consumer preferences. Nike was founded all the way in the 90s, so consumer preferences have definitely changed from wanting eco-friendly products to wanting more everyday wear. And the premium pricing leads to an increase in counterfeit Nike products. You see that all around the world. Unfortunately, the counterfeit market, especially for expensive shoes like Nike, is very, very popular and is growing. So Nike could definitely be threatened by the increase of counterfeit Nike products. When it comes to their challenges and opportunities, actually, 40% of Nike's global revenue comes from the US alone. That means that Nike, wanting to capitalize on their largest consumer base, is acclimated to the US consumers' preferences, which will require a lot of understanding of how different the Japanese culture and Japanese consumers operate. And these consumer trends differ vastly compared to the Western Hemisphere, Japanese consumer trends. This presents Nike with the opportunity to appeal to Japanese cultural nuances and Japanese lifestyles. Japan has a profound history with wellness, and it is ingrained into the culture that a Zen way of life includes prioritizing one's health. Japanese consumers seek to buy products that are of good quality, design, and functionality. And the ITA identified Japanese consumers to be extremely detail oriented. So that means that Nike would have to be very and extremely intentional in regards to any potential campaign in Japan. Sustainability, brand reputation, and reliability are key factors that Japanese consumers rely on when purchasing any product. So, according to the Global Wellness Institute, rather than in Western cultures, specifically in America, consumerism has been ingrained in culture. That is very different in Japan. Japan consumers tend to focus more on reliability and longevity in their products rather than just buying anything that's trending. When it comes to Japan's political system, they are a constitutional monarchy, which means the emperor is just a symbolic figurehead. And they do have three branches of government: cabinet, national diet, judicial cabinet. The prime minister makes up the cabinet, which is also comprised of 17 ministers of state appointed by the prime minister. The national diet is comprised of the House of Representatives with 480 members and the House of Councilors with 242 members. The judicial branch covers the Supreme Court, which is appointed by the cabinet, and the corruption perception index is 73 out of 100. So obviously they're not fully free of corruption, but they do have a pretty high score. And the UN 2024 World Economic Situation and Prospects classification recognizes Japan to be a more developed country. And looking at their freedom in the world score, Japan does have a 96 out of 100, and their political rights are 40 out of 40, and civil liberties are 56 out of 60. So they do rank pretty well when it comes to the rights of citizens and the civil liberties of citizens. When it comes to Japan's economic system, their economic freedom score was 67.8, which means their economic system is moderately free, and they are a very popular manufacturing nation, from everything to electric appliances to automobiles, and their exports actually account for 16% of their GDP. When it comes to the economic system itself, it is a mixed economy, which means there are aspects of a planned economy and aspects of a market economy. And a fun fact is 75% of Japan's GDP comes from their financial sector, and the Tokyo Stock Exchange is one of the world's leading finance centers. And another thing I did not know was only 1% of Japan's GDP comes from agriculture, which is super interesting.
My name is Kara, and now we're going to be touching on some other stuff. So, for starters, Japan has a score of 77 out of 100 on the freedom of the internet. They have 22 out of 25 on obstacles to access, 29 to 35 on limits on content, and 26 to 40 on violations of user rights. Japan has millions of viewers on news, TVs, newspapers, and social media. Their internet freedom is still pretty robust. They don't have many obstacles with internet access, no websites are currently blocked, and according to Freedom House, the legal framework provides strong protections for various forms of expression. However, there still are concerns over government surveillance online, and women and other minority groups are dealing with large amounts of harassment. Japan has a literacy rate of 99%, and this is alongside a lot of other highly developed countries such as the United States. Moving on to media and internet penetration, Japan has 116.3 Japan has 116.3 million users. And also, according to Statista, users mainly use the internet for social networking services, emailing, and searching for information online. The most popular social networks in Japan are X, which was formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and Line, which is a messaging app. Now we'll be moving on to culture. So, according to Hofstede's Cultural Dimensions, Japan has a power distance of 54. This means Japan is more intermediate on a hierarchy society, and they go through each hierarchical layer to make decisions. Usually foreigners seem like Japan has a high hierarchical society. However, compared to other Asian cultures, they don't necessarily do. Japan's individualism score is 62. Japan is a paternalistic society. This means the family name and assets that the father have inherited are then inherited by the eldest son. The youngest siblings leave home and make a living with their own families. Japan and their citizens are famously known for their loyalty to companies and are known to be more quiet and reserved. Japan has a score of 95 on motivation towards achievement and success. Japan has a unique social environment as both a decisive and collectivist society. With this combination, you don't see the assertive and competitive individual natures that are usually associated with decisive cultures. Instead, you see more competitive natures in group environments, such as children are learned to be competitive in teams when they're younger. Corporate Japan, you see employees are more motivated when they're fighting for a winning company. Decisiveness in Japan is the drive for excellent perfection in their material production and their material services and presentation. Japan has a score of 92 on uncertainty avoidance. Japan is one of the most uncertainty avoiding countries on Earth. This is due to them constantly being threatened by natural disasters such as earthquakes and tsunamis. They also show this in day to day events due to their nature to prepare themselves for any uncertain situation. Japan has a score of 100 on long term orientation. Japan is the highest scoring long term orientation society. Japanese citizens see their life as a very short moment in a long history of mankind. Japan has a score of 42 in indulgence. Japan is not a very indulgent country. Japan is shown to have a culture of restraint. They don't put much emphasis on free time and gratification of their desires. They rather feel guilty to do so. Now we'll be moving on to Nike's audience. Nike has a wide range of ages in their audience. As we can see, they have a pretty balanced audience, with 29 years or younger being 34.8%, 30 to 39 years being 39.5%, 40 to 49 being 36%, 50 to 59 years being 31%, and 60 to 69 years being 33.8%. Now we'll be moving on to Nike's target audience. So Nike has been branching off and focusing on women empowerment. However, Nike's main audience, especially in Japan, is still men. In 2021, sales of men Nike products accounted for over half of the wholesale revenue worldwide for Nike. Their secondary audience is females and other minorities. So in Japan, traditional norms are being challenged by youth culture. But the Japanese advertisement industry continues to rely on more conventional constructs of binary gender, even in their efforts to promote female empowerment. Nike has released campaigns centralized around women's empowerment and minorities. However, this is still not their main audience due to these traditional norms.
This campaign aimed to create a positive societal impact and promote well being through inclusive sports and environmental sustainability. The overarching goal is to make sports accessible to everyone, regardless of physical ability, while fostering an active, community centered, and sustainable lifestyle. The campaign had specific attitudinal and behavioral objectives. Additionally, it aimed to change the public perception and to embrace inclusivity in sports, ensuring that everyone, including people with disabilities, can participate. It also sought to raise awareness about the importance of sustainability in sports and in everyday life. Behaviorally, the campaign aimed to increase participation in sports among underrepresented communities and foster behaviors that support environmental sustainability, such as using public transport and participating in recycling programs. Campaign officially started with the opening of the Nike Sports Park on October 10th, 2020. There was an official event that took place, and the campaign concluded on September 20th of 2021, and there was a series of wrap-up events. So, the theme of the campaign was inclusive, accessible, and sustainable sports culture. The key messages included promoting inclusivity in sports by stating that, quote, sports are for everyone, regardless of age, gender, or ability, and creating an environment where everyone can enjoy sports stress free. Accessibility was another major message, focusing on, quote, removing barriers to sport to make it accessible to all, and, quote, designing spaces that cater to diverse groups, including those with disabilities. Sustainability was also emphasized with messages about promoting sustainable practice in sports and daily life and supporting environmental sustainability through innovative design and community practices. To attract audience attention, the campaign included various special events. There were weekly girls only skateboarding events hosted by Japanese skateboarder Sayaka Takano to attract attention and participants. Nike also held regular events and programs throughout the year, including impromptu fun events for people who are members of the park. Regular yoga and dance sessions were held in the Waffle Trainer Square, which was right by the park, to promote a healthy lifestyle and community engagement. These sessions were designed to resonate with local culture, emphasizing being social with other people in your community. The park also hosted seasonal and thematic events that aligned with the local culture practices. This ensured the relevance and connection with their local audience. This approach leveraged Japan's rich seasonal traditions, and it's also a common strategy used in Japanese advertising. The campaign used multiple media channels to reach its audience. The official campaign website provided a lot of details about the park, including event schedules and registration information. Unfortunately, the site's not accessible anymore and it's inactive. Social media platforms also played a significant role. Instagram shared images and videos showcasing the park's facilities and events, and Pinterest featured images and designs of the park. Nike Japan and Mitsui Fotosun released official press announcements about the park and its purpose. Blogs and online articles covered the park extensively. Hypebeast provided a detailed insight into the park's design and its cultural impact. Tokion discussed the cultural and artistic elements, and Medium offered a look at the park's inclusive and sustainable features. Articles about the park and its purpose and activities were also posted to online magazines, which reached a diverse audience. Now let's look at how well these channels worked. So the website was a great central hub for information. It made it easy for visitors to find all necessary details in one place, and its availability ensured that potential visitors could plan their visits effectively and register for events and stay up to date on park activities. However, the current inaccessibility of the website means that all the historical data and resources are no longer available for reference, which is hard to look at and see the long-term impact. Instagram was ideal for highlighting the park's aesthetic appeal and inclusivity features. It increased engagement with its visual content. As you could see in the last slide, there was an Instagram post of a famous skateboarder at the park. However, it did not provide in-depth information that a website or detailed articles offer. Pinterest was effective for also sharing design aesthetics and elements. It was good for promoting the park's unique visual appeal and its innovative design features. But like Instagram, Pinterest is primarily visual, and it wasn't able to capture the full scope of the park's activity and community impact. Nike Japan and Mitsui Foundation provided press announcements, which were great because they were authoritative and it was detailed information that came directly from the organizations involved that ensured accuracy and reliability. They helped generate media coverage and public interest. However, because press releases are typically one-way communication, it's not as engaging for the audience and they can't interact with it. Blogs and online articles also covered the park, and Hypebeast's coverage, for example, appealed to an audience that was interested in fashion and lifestyle trends, while Tokion's focused on artistic elements that helped position the park with a broader cultural context. Medium's platforms allowed for detailed storytelling and analysis of the park's features. Um, However, the articles required readers to engage more deeply, which might not attract people who are looking for quick information. Magazine articles reach diverse audiences, including people who are interested in sports, culture, and community initiatives. However, because of the periodic nature of magazines, it means less frequent updates compared to real time platforms like social media, which can be problematic when announcing events.
Through evaluation, we found that the initiative received positive public feedback, with many appreciating the park's inclusive and accessible nature. It provided a much needed space for all people and of all abilities to engage in sports and recreational activities. The community centered approach fostered a sense of belonging and togetherness, with locals actively participating in events and activities. The sustainable design elements were praised by environmental advocates and positioned Nike as a brand committed to environmental stewardship. However, there were some critiques. The inaccessibility of the initiative's website poses a significant issue, hindering access to valuable historical data and resources. This affects long-term impact assessment and the ability to draw lessons for future campaigns. While platforms like Instagram and Pinterest were effective in showcasing the park's visual appeal and inclusivity features, they lacked the depth of information that a website or detailed articles could offer. This limited the audience's ability to fully understand the park's broader objectives and impact. Although press releases provided authoritative information, their one-way communication nature was less engaging compared to social media or interactive events. To address these issues, several recommendations can be made. First, restore and maintain the website. Ensuring the website is accessible and serves as a comprehensive hub for information, historical data, event registrations, and updates will enhance long-term impact assessment and help plan future initiatives. Second, enhance social media content. Incorporating more in-depth content on platforms like Instagram and Pinterest can provide a fuller picture of the park's activities and community impact. Short videos or stories highlighting specific events, community testimonials, and sustainable features can enhance engagement. Third, interactive press releases. Complementing press releases with interactive elements such as live Q&A sessions, virtual tours of the park, or behind-the-scenes videos can increase engagement and accessibility. Fourth, ongoing community engagement. Regular events, workshops, and feedback sessions should be implemented to ensure the park continues to meet community needs and expectations. Fifth, sustainability reports. Regularly publishing reports on the sustainability efforts and their impact will enhance Nike's reputation and inspire other organizations to adopt similar practices. These steps will address the current issues and build upon the initial positive community response. In summary, Nike Japan's Tokyo Sports Playground initiative aimed to foster a positive societal impact by promoting well-being through inclusive sports and environmental sustainability. The campaign's core themes, making sports accessible to everyone regardless of physical ability and fostering an active, community-centered, and sustainable lifestyle, resonates with contemporary societal needs and corporate social responsibility. The initiative's goals and execution were well aligned with these themes. The park was designed to be inclusive, providing facilities that cater to people of all physical abilities. This effort is critical in promoting equality and ensuring that everyone can participate in sports, contributing to their physical and mental well-being. Additionally, the initiative encouraged community engagement by creating a space where people could come together to participate in sports and other recreational activities. This not only promotes physical activity, but also strengthens community bonds. The park also incorporated sustainable features, such as eco-friendly materials and energy-efficient designs, which align with global sustainability goals and enhance the park's overall appeal. The key takeaways are that Nike Japan's Tokyo Sports Playground initiative successfully created an inclusive, accessible, and sustainable sports culture. While there were some limitations, particularly regarding information accessibility and engagement depth, the overall impact was positive. By addressing these critiques and implementing the recommended strategies, future initiatives can be even more effective in promoting well-being and fostering a sustainable, community-centered lifestyle.
And that brings us to our next section of insight quality, which I will be providing an overview of the next few slides regarding insight quality. And starting off with Nike Japan's Tokyo Sports Playground initiative is a salient example of successful brand integration with Nike with art and community engagement. Nike accomplished this by transforming a vacant lot in the center of Tokyo into an interactive playground that has combined arts and sports. I also provided a photo for those that would like a visual. The 1,500 square meter space features colorful murals, installations, and street art, which were all designed by the local artists and international talents. Moving on to the next slide. So, Insight Quality continued. The playground encouraged individuals of all ages to participate in sports and activities like soccer, basketball, and yoga. And they also featured some other sporting events, but they're catered to the individual wants. So, with that being said, they also curated a sense of community through exhibitions, public events, and tapping into our creativity by merging art and sport. Nike not only physically rebranded the public space aesthetically using some photos that I will share in the next slide, but they also promoted the values of creativity, inclusivity, and self expression. This initiative not only increased Nike's brand visibility, but also contributed to the influx of the younger generation of the local community. These efforts are seen as an effective brand activation and a social responsibility shown within Nike Japan. Moving on to our final slide. Bring us to the end. And the two referenced pictures that I was showing are just two of the images of the bold and bright kind of colors and the aesthetic that some of the local artists used for inspiration to kind of get people in a mindset of being active and expressing yourself, and that can be seen in both pictures provided with the basketball court or the playground, with the kind of bold color differentiation in both of the pictures provided, as well as some of the bold lettering that I wasn't able to fit into the picture due to the size restriction. But you can tell that a lot of creativity was put into the design of this park. So the campaign brings together different elements from various cultural circuits to create a unique and artistic message. These sports playground circuits are combined with the art circuit, which is comprised of bold graphics and vibrant colors, like I was saying previously, that showcase the fashion intersection of streetwear and Haute culture. The campaign also encompasses the consumer culture circuit, which highlights the ambitious lifestyle and the craving for self expression. Kind of what I said, where you can see with these bold graphics, you can tell that they are trying to promote self-expression and obviously promote physical activity as well within the community. So the cultural circle is reflected in Japanese pop culture as well, such as anime-inspired graphics and bold typography, which resonate with its local audience. So a little bit about Japan. There is a ton of creativity and content creators that are in Japan. So it is absolutely no surprise to me that Nike really, I think, went above and beyond and were really ambitious with this playground design, not only by using bold graphics, but also just combining different elements with sports and art. There's not really that many brick and mortar, we'll call them, places that you can visit that promote both art and sport in one spot. Of course, we have museums, but that kind of lacks the sport aspect of the artistic culture there. So I think that Nike did a phenomenal job in reflecting these, designs and bringing in the community's wants and desires and really creating something special from an area that could really use an uplift. They did a beautiful and fantastic job. So, with that being said, that will be the end of the presentation. Thank you all and have a great rest of your day.